It is my custom, wherever I go, to identify and connect with sacred space. I don't really do it on purpose. It's just kind of natural, you know, you go where it feels right, and so that feels right for me. And one of the places that particularly feels right for me is really any ground consecrated under St Michael, but occasionally there'll be a church or two that will feel the same. I'm not Christian, and I don't particularly relate to any form of Christian building per se. It's ground when you know it. And I particularly connect to Michael's space, but occasionally the odd church is quite beautiful. And so I'm in New Orleans at the moment, and I've been in the US for a little bit over a year, but just spent a day or two in New Orleans, and I'm right in the middle of French Square, and behind me is the St Louis Cathedral, a Catholic church, and the most prominent building is smack in the middle of French Square in New Orleans town. And I'm a tourist, among other things, and so of course I would like to go into that building. No, I am not Catholic, I'm not Christian, I'm not religious or anything of the sort, but I feel very comfortable walking into a religious and consecrated space, and I feel okay even just as a tourist walking into that sort of space. It is an open door policy, there are tourists all around in there. So, of course I want to have a look. So I donated my $7 to the little box out the front for whoever that goes to, and I walked inside and I removed my shoes and put my bag down and my coffee, and even then turned around to remove all of the crap from my pockets, out of respect and out of awareness, not even just honouring, just awareness of sacred space. I wouldn't even keep my phone in my pocket, it just all came out, because that's just respectful, or at least it is to me. It's not a rule, but there we go. The point is, like, I'm aware of where I am, and so I'm wandering around, harmlessly minding my own business with maybe 30 other tourists, and it's beautiful inside. It really is beautiful, and it is as you would think. And so I'm walking around the front up near the main altar and over to a particular section, and something just stops me. It's really strange, and it's like I got stuck to the ground. And I looked down, and there's a little cross, a little blue cross just to my left. And I thought, well, that's a bit strange. There's a cross on the ground, and then I looked down, and then there's another little cross to my right. And I was like, I'm in between two crosses, and then I turn around, and there are two crosses on the floor behind me. And I am in an invisible tile, if you like, of the floor of tiles, and I'm on this cross tile, and it just got me. I just felt stuck on this tile, and I didn't realise it until I was surrounded by these symbols, and it was nowhere else. There's just something about this spot. So whatever, here we are. So I'm standing on this spot. As I came in, there was a young guy who was just kind of wandering around up and down the main central aisle, and if he wasn't homeless, he certainly appeared to be homeless. Would have been in his maybe late 20s, distinct disability or mental health stuff going on. He was just in a lot of trouble, you know. He looked like he was the most needy person to be in a church. He was by far the person who was most suited to be in a place of safety and sanctuary and so forth. And so he's just wandering around doing his thing. We pass each other as I'm walking, but now I find myself in this tile in between these symbols in this space, and so I'm just standing here relatively glued to the spot. And this young man is still just wandering, and wanders past me, and we make eye contact, and he just starts talking to me. And the sadness, and I couldn't really understand what he was saying between his very thick New Orleans drawl and his intellectual disability and all of these other things, just the trauma that is pouring out of this young man's face. I can't really understand what he's saying, but I get the impression from the story that he's telling me that he acquired this disability or this injury from just getting so beaten from his older brother day to day growing up, and that at some point either he or someone that he saw put a gun to his brother's head and blew it off. And so he's conveying this story to me, and I can't even really understand him, but he's been absolutely butchered his entire life by his older brother, and he saw his brother's head get blown off. Whether he did it or not, I still couldn't really decipher. But it gives you a bit of a sense of where this young man's at, you know, and he's in trouble. And so I'm listening to him, and I'm just standing there talking to him. Well, listening to him talking at me, and just letting him speak and letting this pour out. And I don't really think about where I am or anything like that. I just do what I do. And so I find myself on the ground. I'm on my knees. And I've got his hand, and I put my hand to his chest. Because he's got so much grief and so much trauma. And we're just talking. Like, we are just talking in this beautiful chapel, and there's people everywhere, and it's safe, and like everything's fine. No one's even talking loudly, you know. And so here we are, and a guy comes out from one of the side doors, from behind the chapel thing at the front, and he goes, "You guys okay? You all right?" And meaning really, you shouldn't really be doing this, you know, like, can I do something to break up this situation? It's not genuine inquiry, that's just how they break the ice. And so he said, you know, "Is everything okay here?" And I said, "Of course it is, you know, we're just talking, we've just connected. I'm from Australia, this guy's local, we've just connected." And he didn't really know what to make of that, and holds that space and then leaves. And then a few minutes later, another guy comes out and makes a beeline for this young guy. And said, "Look, I can see that you guys aren't doing anything wrong, but I just..." And then he starts talking to this young guy and said, "Look, I've heard that you've been causing trouble and talking to people in here, and just don't." And he really targets this guy, and it just all seems very unwelcoming and very unsacred and a bit uncool. Granted that this guy is not Catholic, I suspect, and has a mental health issue. He's in serious shit, you know, and he's just making a connection in sanctuary space. So we're just talking, and so far 2 of the people who work here are not happy with this scene of me on my knees, holding this young man's hand with my hand to his chest, allowing him to weep and share and unload and heal in the space of God. No part of that is appropriate, apparently. And we continue, this young man and I, because all is okay. And then off in the distance, I hear my friend Nathan, who's sitting just in one of the pews, a few seats back, having a conversation with another lady who works there, and the voices are starting to raise a little bit, and I can tell that there is some sort of conflict going on. And so I break space with this young man and walk over and just get a sense of what is going on. And this lady eventually leaves, and my friend Nathan tells me that she is taking issue with what is happening with me and this young man, and deciding to tell my friend about it. Of course, she would never directly confront me. She has to tell the person sitting 3 pews back, and having some sort of a problem with what is going on here. The fact that no one holds any authority to do anything in this space, and I was clearly overstepping some sort of boundary of authority in this space. That I am not Catholic, apparently, obviously, so there's that. So on principle, we're not really welcome in that space. And from what I understand, that she was right on the verge of calling the police. And it just goes to that. And so my friend Nathan and I walk out the door, and I'm very unwelcome on sacred ground, connecting and holding space for a very in-need young man in the middle of the central business district of New Orleans. And it's really upsetting, you know, like, it's easy to laugh off and it's easy to just call silly, but it's really sad. And I can tell you that, having been in the US for over a year now, that I walk into a number of churches just as course as what I do and who I am and so forth. And there has rarely been a church in the US where this has not happened. Only a week ago, police were called to escort me and my friend Nathan out of a church in Dallas. This has occurred at another level past this again already here. And this is what my experience has been like, almost without fail, in the US, walking onto sacred ground. It is so fearful and so on edge and so profoundly controlling, and the authority is total of humans on that space. Anything different is not acceptable, anything at all different. Even if you look at what it is, and it is strangely in alignment with the philosophies and core beliefs of what the entire building is about. I don't know if it's that I'm a 6'1" blonde Australian or what. I suspect I do attract a little attention. Granted, I don't wear shoes. I was wearing shoes in this church, however. But, you know, in full respect of all of that and what that entails, I guess at the end of the day, it's sacred ground, it's sanctuary, and unless you are remotely hurting anybody, really nobody has any right to say anything to you, unless you're being disrespectful or harmful, and that is never the case. I just needed to share this story, because it seems to be happening consistently in the US on sacred ground, and it is shameful and embarrassing and disgusting, and if I could define the word sacrilegious in an act, I have been watching sacrilegious acts on sacred ground every time I've walked onto one in this place, and it hurts my heart. So here we are. I have two more weeks in the US, and I will be walking onto other sacred spaces, and we'll just see what happens, you know. But I can tell you that I don't walk on the sacred ground in Australia with this sort of rubbish, nor any other country I've ever been in. It is a very sad state of affairs, America, that even on holy ground you do not recognise someone in authority and connected to holy ground enough to just give them 5 minutes to do their thing. Anyway, this is my story from New Orleans. I wanted to